Okay then, dudes. Well, it just got prophetic. Putin's war is now beginning to look like it's fulfilling Bible prophecy. Up until now, it was just mayhem, but then Iran got involved. In latest news, Iran has now supplied drones to Russia to help in its war effort and has become one of Russia's biggest allies as they continue to slaughter innocent civilians and commit more and more war crimes. They are now actively involved in Putin's war. We have a Russian-Arab alliance, which Bible scholars are unanimous on, and they'll be going for Israel eventually. Gog and Magog, that most likely being Russia and its leader, in Ezekiel 38 shall encompass Israel in their masses in what will seem like a whitewash, but God will then intervene. There will be a great quake and hailstones from the heavens which will destroy this Russian-Arab offensive. This is prior to the accession of the Antichrist in Revelation 13. And although it's not certain where Ezekiel 38 fits on the Book of Revelation timeline, because it is in order, it's most likely going to be Revelation 9:13 to 19, where it mentions what sounds like ICBMs and the Third World War in the Middle East killing 1/3 of mankind. Those angels bound by the great river Euphrates, who are unbound to kill 1/3 of men, like I mentioned in my prophecy update video in 2015. What this is basically saying is that countries Turkey, Syria, Iran and Iraq, which are all bound by the river Euphrates, will become stronger and will start another great war. Although that river is starting to dry out, so if it's going to happen, it's going to happen in the not too distant future. Once again, those countries who will start this war, which kills 1/3 of man, are Turkey, Syria, Iran and Iraq. And believe it or not, the old Babylon in Iraq is being restored. Saddam Hussein had a huge involvement in this project, which has been ongoing ever since, to bring in tourism. Yes, they're rebuilding the Ishtar Gate, some of which I saw at the Pergamon Museum in Berlin. And they're also rebuilding other Ishtar monuments in some restoration project that they're all so fascinated with, like the complete muppets that they are, and it's now becoming a place of religious worship. That's what we're looking at the old Babylon in Iraq. And this is how lost these people are. They're attempting to rebuild what God had razed to the ground because of the Babylonians' defiance. But that's a long way into Revelation, right at the end in fact, where the new Babylon falls. And there's a major problem with this old Babylon literally becoming the new Babylon idea. And that is the book of Jeremiah, where Jeremiah says it will be destroyed forever. And at the time of writing my book, this is why I immediately ignored the old Babylon site. Vatican City is the #1 candidate right now and is matching nearly every description of New Babylon precisely. To add even more confusion to the mix, there's actually a Babylon district in New York, with New York also matching the description of New Babylon quite closely, with that hideous Ishtar-looking statue they claim is Roman goddess Libertas, even though it clearly predates that and was built by a Freemason, as was the whole of the US, which allows the practice of Satanism and seems to be suffering from mass gun violence lately, for some strange reason. And don't you dare tell me that your nation was founded on Christianity. It's the complete opposite. It was founded by Freemasons in defiance of Christianity, as if that isn't painfully obvious with those insane amendments that govern your land. Amendments? Amendments to what exactly? Wow. Who did they think they were? Although I'd lean more towards the Vatican, I'm still a bit undecided over whether it's the Vatican or New York. Although I'll tell you what, there's nothing more Babylonian than the US. And now we may have a new candidate, which is literally the old Babylon becoming the new, with billions already spent on this project to restore it. But if this does happen, then it would contradict Jeremiah, as I've mentioned before. Although many a times it looks like Revelation is being fulfilled. We get a little glimpse of what is to come. That might be what this old Babylon restoration project is, a glimpse. But Revelation will eventually fan out in sequence, catastrophic event after catastrophic event, and defining moments in history, that upon reflection will make it all undeniable. We may be looking at Ezekiel 38 right now that Iran is involved, and how that could eventually culminate to an eventual invasion of Israel. If that is the case, then there are many other natural disasters which will take place first. We've still not had the first trumpet of Revelation, and let's not forget that this Great War of Revelation 9 is on the 6th trumpet. I looked this up recently since I wrote about the 4 angels bound by the Euphrates River, and there are actually only 3 countries it goes through: Turkey, Syria and Iraq. However, it is right on the border of Iran, so it is still bound by the Euphrates River, biblically speaking. Here it is, look. And isn't it interesting that Revelation says 4 angels bound by the Euphrates River? I don't think there's any other way of interpreting it. You can see these countries that are bound by this river. So John is clearly referring to these 4 Muslim countries starting World War III or escalating it in this region. I think it would be accurate to say World War III, considering that they will have a 200 million man army and 1/3 of man will be wiped out by this war. At present, that would be approximately 2.7 billion, although it could be a lot more or even a lot less by the time we get to Revelation 9:13. Notice also that this 200 million man army that people keep thinking is China is an army from these countries in the Middle East. That's what Revelation says. Although they'll be getting support from Gog and Magog, that is Russia, and we all know who China, the oh so respectful non-interference bystanders, will be supporting during all of this. Oh yeah, non-interference until you're invading other countries. Non-interference until you decide you want to land and demolish people's homes. Non-interference from that part of the world that persecutes the most Christians for their faith, which has nothing to do with you apparently. Non-interference. No, we won't interfere with Taiwan. We won't interfere with Australia. We won't interfere with any sovereign nation, although we do think that Ukraine shouldn't decide what they do with theirs. Let's cut the BS, shall we? You say one thing and do the complete opposite. You still think it wise to govern by an ideology that's proven to be the most disastrous throughout history? Yeah, the dictators won't interfere, apparently. Anyway, The War on Terror by Grant R. Jeffrey. A great book, and as soon as I heard about this Russia-Iran alliance, I was like, oh my god, I've got to go and get it off my bookshelf. It's chapters 6 and 7 for of most interest, and I referenced some of this when I wrote my book, Jericho. It goes over everything I've just mentioned and more. The Russia being Gog and Magog, the Russian and Arab alliance, and preparing for an invasion of the Middle East. The identification of ancient Gog and Magog as Russia, and that there will be 3 great wars. First war described by Jeremiah is the war against Babylon, Iraq. Now, I think what Grant R. Jeffrey has done here is he's taken what Jeremiah has written in the Old Testament as prophecy, okay? Not about the old Babylon, but this new Babylon. So if that is the case, if Jeremiah is speaking prophetically about the new Babylon, then it could be the old Babylon being restored to the new. Okay, that is a possibility depending on how you read Jeremiah. Okay. The second war is the war of Gog and Magog against Israel. Okay, the coming Russian Arab invasion against Israel, it says. And then the third and final war is the Battle of Armageddon, and this will involve the West meeting with the East, and the ruler of the Western armies being the Antichrist. Okay, this is when the Antichrist comes to power. So it's not going to be a great time, really. Whose side would you go on? The communist dictators of the East, or the Antichrist European leader? Anyway, the armies of Jesus Christ will prevail in the end. Thank God. After all that mayhem. Anyway, Ezekiel included the name Magog, and he says here Christian scholarship does identify Magog with Russia, and the leader of Russia being Gog. Okay. During the time of writing, Magog was talking about Russia. Alright. Israel will be victorious, as I mentioned, because this supernatural divine intervention. Okay. And wow, get a load of this. It will be the greatest earthquake in history that destroys the Russian Arab invaders. A great shaking in the land of Israel, the Bible says. Okay. And the hailstones. So this is what it will take to defend Israel and defeat her enemies. Yeah, intervention from God. And that's it. The chapters 6 to 7 I highly rate in Grant R. Jeffrey's War on Terror. Like I said, as soon as this happened, as soon as I saw it in the news, that Putin was trying to get drones from Iran, and they've been meeting up and close buddies and forming an alliance during this huge conflict, I thought, oh my word, this is prophecy. This is the Russian Arab alliance, okay? And Iran are going to want to go for Israel, and Russia will be allied with them, okay? That is a very real possibility now, with what's taking place. Anyway, there we go. I thought I'd just bring that up, okay, because of how important it is biblically, what's happened in latest news. Yeah, when when Putin's war first started, this invasion of Ukraine and everything, I said at the time, uh, this doesn't fit with Ezekiel 38 prophecy. This is just mayhem. You know what Putin's doing is crazy. It doesn't seem prophetic at all. But now, it just got prophetic. Whoa.